What's something that most people don't know, but should? Never use wet pot holders. The heat from the oven can cause the water to flash into steam, causing serious burns to your hand. That pouring water over a grease fire will make it so much more worse before it gets better. Never own a boat, always look for a friend with one. If you're going to buy a boat, you'd better either live on it, make money with it, or use it to feed yourself/others, otherwise it's not much more than a very, very expensive toy. It's still expensive if you use it for those three things, but it pulls its own weight more if it's being used like that. The very basics of probability and statistics, it would help in so many areas, like how it would discourage gambling or make recognizing bullshit studies so much easier. For someone living a sedentary, non-active lifestyle, simply going for short, to start with, gentle walks several times per week can bring considerable health benefits and for many, is more sustainable than trying to attack a heavy gym routine. I'd go as far as saying the slogan of "no pain, no gain" has discouraged many people from doing anything, thinking you have to suffer to get any benefits. In real life, something referred to as base endurance training feels like a gentle, never-ending warm-up regardless of your fitness level. Your fitness only determines how fast you'll be going at that perceived level, and for a whole lot of folks nowadays, that pace is essentially just a walk. Doing it increases fat metabolism, muscle stamina and amount of capillaries in the working muscles, capacity to recover from any exercise, and lowers your resting heart rate and blood pressure. Basic cooking skills. There is a small bar or lever on a vehicle's steering column that can be used to indicate if you are going to turn left or right, for the vehicles around you to see. Basic car/truck maintenance. You don't need to know how to do an engine rebuild. Just how to check and keep the fluids topped up, filters clean, wiper replacements and sufficient air in the tires to keep it running well and save money. Bonus savings if you learn how to replace your vehicle fluids and filters, understand what noises are normal, what are not and require attention. Buy a engine code reader OBD2/VAGCOM and learn how to use it, so you know in 30 seconds why you have an engine light on and how serious the warning is, rather than spending the day without your vehicle, paying a $179 plus diagnostic fee to learn a 50-cent fuse needs simple replacement. When buying a vehicle, make sure it has and get a second key. If it doesn't, factor in what you offer for the vehicle. A replacement key is often $400 to $700. When taking out-of-town trips, take your second key with you, just in case. Learn your maintenance schedule and the difference between manufacturer-required maintenance and optional dealer-added maintenance, often used to inflate the final bill. Replace your aged battery before it wears out and leaves you stranded somewhere. About half of roadside assistance calls are for flat batteries. They typically last 3 to 8 years, depending on battery quality, use and your climate, but never the life of the vehicle. The more you know about your vehicle's operation, the cheaper it is, safer and more reliable. You're not supposed to flush tampons or pads. There was a post a few years ago from a tattoo parlor employee who had to put up a sign stating not to flush them or they would have to close the restrooms and make them employee only, and people were mad at them for putting up the sign because, that's how I was taught, even though it literally states everywhere on the packaging that they're not flushable. That saying "no" is a complete sentence you don't have to justify, explain, or overthink it. Most of us are taught to be so agreeable, to avoid conflict, or to overextend ourselves for others, but it's okay to prioritize your boundaries. Formal logic, spotting errors in reasoning and fallacies. Life comes at you fast. If you don't stop and look around every once in a while, you may miss it. Leaving a bad review for a business in Dubai can get you pulled off the airplane and detained for questioning. HR does not work for you. HR works for the company and puts company interests first. Something that actually everybody learns eventually, but certainly something you don't know when you're younger. You are going to lose everything that you love, and if you don't lose it, it will lose you. Not much in life is certain, but this is guaranteed. Appreciate what you have while you have it, don't assume anything will stick around, and learn to smile because it happened, not cry because it's gone. How to give first aid, including the Heimlich maneuver and CPR. Using SPF is just a necessity nowadays. Most people don't know that sleep plays a crucial role in memory consolidation and emotional regulation. During deep sleep, the brain processes and stores information from the day, strengthens memories, and regulates emotions, making adequate rest essential for cognitive function and mental well-being. Lack of sleep can impair decision-making, increase stress, and hinder learning. Saving energy and saving money are two very different things. There are lots of energy efficiency things that only make sense at commercial scale, and the average consumer will never see a return on investment. The value of time, not just money. I grew up poor and I'm still lower middle class. When I need something, my first instinct is to try to find it at a thrift store, added advantage being that it's more environmentally friendly as well. It took me a long while to realize that oftentimes it's better to just order that $30 item than to spend hours trying to save $20 by trying to find it at a thrift store. Same goes for tools. You can waste hours trying to use the wrong tool instead of spending 10 or 20 bucks to buy the right tool. Here's my auto tip: keep a set of tools in your car. All your tools being on the shelf in your garage may as well be on the moon if you break down in the middle of nowhere. Medicine isn't magical. It has its own contents that fight the very thing you have going on, thus it's stupid to take medicine when you don't need it, as well as dangerous. Chemicals aren't a synonym for everything harmful to you. A lot of non-harmful things are chemicals, things you can't live without. Basic cooking skills and spices, how animals get treated before they end up in packages. How to build a fire. You can get more trash into the can if you just push on it a little bit. You don't have to leave your trash laying on the ground. Caving has a really high rate of death and injury. A lot of the dead and injured are beginners who are overly confident in their abilities. Critical thinking. If you haven't cooked fish in a while, and your house/apartment has a fish smell to it, you may have an electrical issues up to, and including, wires so hot they are melting the insulation. Source: happened at my house earlier this year. I work in the gas industry and there's quite a few safety things I constantly try to tell people that might not be common sense but are very important. Even if you don't have gas at your home, read these, because if your friends or neighbors have gas and live nearby, it can impact you too. First off, if you don't know what gas smells like, it's a strong rotten egg-like smell. It's very distinct and strong, which is the point of the mercaptan put in it. Now let's talk about gas and fire/explosions. 1. If you smell gas in your house, do not open the windows/doors/vents/etc. to air it out. Gas can only ignite under the right air to gas ratio, and if there's too much gas or too little of it, nothing ignites. So if you smell it in your house, you very well might have too much gas in there for it to ignite, and if you open everything up, you may put it in that sweet spot and blow everything up. So if you smell gas, get out and get everyone else out too and call emergency services. 2. If you smell gas in or around your house, if you have a garage, don't open or close it until you've talked to emergency services and have it checked out. A lot of garage doors spark when they open or close, and that has led to lots of fires and explosions. One that really got me was someone smelled gas and had a big gas leak. They did everything right and got them, their family, and pets out of the house and called emergency services. Fire department got there first and we told them to not go in the house and explicitly to not open windows/doors/garages. Well, they didn't listen, opened the garage door because it seemed more convenient to get emergency services in and out of the house, and ended up blowing up the house and killing several firefighters. How to spot gas leaks. Discoloration in grass. Gas, like any fluid, follows the path of least resistance. So if there's a leak in your line, you'll see it go through the soil to come to the surface. So if you start seeing yellow patches in a spot, call and have it checked out. Bubbling, less common than the discoloration, but if the pressure is high enough or soil loose enough, it'll actually start bubbling and moving around. An interesting story of this is there was a guy who couldn't figure out why his grass kept dying. He kept calling various utilities he had, but they couldn't find an issue. He didn't have gas, but his neighbor across the road did. Well, one day the neighbor was running a bunch of stuff that needed gas and couldn't get the pressure he was supposed to have. Gas company came out, checked it out, but determined if it was a leak, it wasn't localized because they couldn't find any signs of one. They told him it had to be something else. This went on for 3 more trips out by the gas company, and finally the third guy goes, "Let me check around the neighborhood." Turned out the guy with his did have a leak on his line, but the path it followed was right into his neighbor's yard across the street. They fixed the leak, but there was so much has built up that it would have been a pretty massive explosion if it went off. Lastly, don't mess with your meters or regulators. Depending on your state, you may have access to yours. There's so many various pressures/valve types/vent types. Don't block them, don't mess with the valves, don't paint them, don't put boxes around them, etc. I know it may sound like it's common sense, but it happens constantly. You may be putting yourself or others in danger.